this is my review of Sonic X. Okay, so in this episode, Dr. Eggman tries and fails to reassert himself as a major antagonist, because obviously he's not. He kind of got his job taken by Dark Oak and the Metarex, but he tries to steal the Chaos Emerald that the group finds in this episode, although it doesn't really work out for him. And also, we learned a bit more about what the Metarex actually believe, according to one of the members that we meet in this episode, but in any case, it starts off with Sonic, Chris, and the others actually going to the town where the Seccoans actually decide to throw a massive celebration and a feast and a whole bunch of other things to celebrate the fact that Sonic had saved their planet. And the way they do this is by putting them on a bunch of parade floats designed to look like land ships, and then just bounce them up and down on a giant trampoline, which nobody is really comfortable with, although they do point out that it is a big honor, and the Seccoans even point out that that is their way of celebrating, which Sonic is happy about. The others less so, but they are a little annoyed that they kind of have to that they're kind of being bounced up and down, and they aren't particularly happy, and Amy even voices that she can't really take much more of it, but especially since everybody can see up her skirt for that reason, but that's neither here nor there. In any case, Cosmo, Cream and Cheese, and Knuckles actually show up with the Chaos Emeralds. With Sonic noticing that they're back and pointing out that they found the Chaos Emerald and wonders where they got it. But Knuckles actually kind of just points out that it doesn't really matter, and that all that matters is that he actually found it while they were actually screwing around with the locals. At which point the head Sukko notices that they're friends of Sonic and decides to have them go up and bounce on the trampoline as well. So they gather up Cream and Cosmo, and they proceed to bounce around with the rest of their friends as well. Although Knuckles outright turns them down, as does Cheese. So they kind of just bounce around. So they just kind of watch as the rest of the group gets bounced around. Meanwhile, Dr. Eggman actually uses one of his remote spy cameras to actually spy on the group. And upon realizing that they have a Chaos Emerald, tries to think of a strategic strategy to actually figure out how to actually steal the Chaos Emerald from them. Which Diko, Bokkun, and Bokkun all kind of chime in, pointing out that Dr. Eggman's strategies usually lack strategy, which is kind of counterproductive and a bit of a paradox. But they point out, but they all just kind of poke fun at how Dr. Eggman's plans never actually work. At which point Dr. Eggman makes Diko and Bokkun think of an idea for him, but Diko and Bokkun just kind of brush him off and pretend to have a headache, which annoys him, and he chases after him with a bunch of power tools, pointing out that he'll put their head on straight. So yeah, they kind of pretend to have a headache to get out of working, which backfires horribly, and Dr. Eggman tries to take them apart so he can quote unquote fix them, when in actuality he's just going to try and make them think of a plan. At which point Bokkun decides to excuse himself and goes into the rest of the ship, at which point he has an encounter with Rouge, who, if you guys remember, has her own ship and has been following the rest of the group around. But she shows up in the scene, and decides to kind of enlist Bokkun to help her, so that she can steal the Chaos Emerald for herself. And Bokkun is initially reluctant to help her at all, pointing out that he doesn't really like her all that much. But Rouge actually kind of makes him do what she wants by dangling a locket in front of him, which Bokkun recognizes, and that she actually has checked out the picture inside of the locket, and confirms that Bokkun indeed has a secret crush, and that if he doesn't want that information getting out to his crush, that he should cooperate with Rouge for the time being. And Bokkun reluctantly agrees to do what she asks, and at which point Rouge gives him a plan to then forward to Dr. Eggman. So he tells Dr. Eggman the plan. Dr. Eggman, of course, takes credit for the whole thing, because that's his character, because that's completely in his character to do so. With Diko and Bokkun just happy that they're off the hook for having to come up with a plan for Dr. Eggman. At which point Rouge just kind of decides to take a back seat for most of the rest of the episode to actually kind of chill out and just watch all the chaos unfold so that she can steal the Chaos Emerald while everybody's distracted. And she eventually does go to do that, but I'll get to that in a minute. At which point Knuckles is kind of walking around voicing his annoyance at Sonic for just kind of screwing around again, pointing out that they have one Chaos Emerald, but they need to find the other 6, and they can't do that if they're screwing around. It's at this point where Dr. Eggman fakes a crash landing and once again appeals to Knuckles' good nature to try and point out that he's actually stranded on Planet Secco without a power source. And explains that and kind of explains out how he needs the Chaos Emerald to actually power his ship so he can escape. But if he does get the Chaos Emerald, he will actually give up world domination, universal domination for good. So Knuckles decides to go appeal to the rest of the group to actually get the Chaos Emerald from them. At which point everybody just kind of sees through Eggman's shit. Knuckles is kind of just still a bit optimistic about the fact that Eggman can turn around and be good, but obviously nobody trusts Eggman except for Knuckles, who kind of has fallen for his tricks one too many times, and Sonic even points out that by this point Knuckles should know better. But Knuckles decides he actually doesn't want to listen, and that he's going to help Dr. Eggman regardless. So he just kind of takes the Chaos Emerald from the rest of the group and tries to leave with it. At which point Sonic just voices his point that Knuckles never seems to learn, and then proceeds to stop Knuckles and tells him that if he wants to bring the Chaos Emerald to Eggman, that they're going to have to fight over it. And they do. The fight itself isn't really important, but they do place the Chaos Emerald down on a rocky outcrop, on a little outcropping, on like a little flat stalagmite thing, while the two of them duke it out. And Cosmo is kind of concerned about the fact that the both of them are fighting, and even tries to break the fight up a couple of times, but it becomes completely apparent that nobody else cares. Obviously, and this is even reinforced by the fact that the rest of the group is completely nonchalant about the idea that Sonic and Knuckles are fighting again. But this is how they work their problems out. They fight each other to work out their problems and how they're actually supposed to continue forward with their ideas. But in any case, so Cosmo's a little concerned that her friends are completely unconcerned with the whole fact that they're fighting, but while Cosmo is trying in vain to actually break up their fight, even pointing out that they may not be the heroes she thought they were, Dr. Eggman actually sneaks up to the location where the Chaos Emerald is, pointing out that now that it's left unguarded, he can easily sneak up and steal it. However, Bokkun then shows up while he's trying to sneak up and steal it, and tells Dr. Eggman and proudly proclaims that he's bringing Dr. Eggman his lunch, which consists of a banana among other things. And then proceeds to leave, loudly saying goodbye to Dr. Eggman. And Rouge just kind of watches this whole thing unfold from her hiding place, pointing out that Bokkun clearly has a knack for this sort of thing, and that he's going to be very useful going forward. It's at this point where Dr. Eggman is almost to the Chaos Emerald, and then everybody notices that he's there, and Amy even asks him what he's doing. At which point Dr. Eggman tries to deflect the fact that he's there to steal the Chaos Emerald by picking up the banana and claiming that he was just stopping for his lunch, and when he was just about to eat his banana. Which, if you guys have never seen the show, just know this scene gets memes to hell and back by the Sonic fandom on Twitter a lot. So you're probably going to see it a bunch if you're over there. It's a very iconic out of context scene for this show. So a lot of Sonic fans love to use it as a meme. So yeah, if you've never seen the show and have seen this exact scene on Twitter, now you know where it's from. It's directly from this scene from this episode of the anime. But in any case, Amy actually does not believe Dr. Eggman is there with good intentions, and tries to bash his head in with a hammer, but Knuckles actually stops fighting Sonic to intervene and actually scoops up Dr. Eggman and brings him to a safer spot, pointing out that he's not going to let Amy hurt Dr. Eggman, which Dr. Eggman thanks him for, pointing out that he can always rely on Knuckles. And Amy is just annoyed at this, and for good reason. Obviously, and then she proceeds to get, and then we get an extended flashback / explanation from Amy about all the times that Dr. Eggman has actually tricked Knuckles over the course of the anime, and asks Knuckles how many times that he's going to actually fall for Dr. Eggman's crap before he actually realizes that Dr. Eggman is never going to change and never be a good guy. But Knuckles merely points out that he doesn't really care if Dr. Eggman never changes, because if there's even a 1% chance that Dr. Eggman has seen the light and has actually decided to turn to the side of good, then he's going to take it. He's going to take it and point out that and help Dr. Eggman, even if Dr. Eggman is lying, because because he wants to believe that Dr. Eggman can change for the better and be good. But in any case, it's at this point where Dr. Eggman is kind of surrounded by all Sonic's friends, although Knuckles kind of intervenes on behalf of of Dr. Eggman, but right at this exact moment, Deco and Bokkun show up in the Egg Mars, apparently being tipped off by Bokkun that Dr. Eggman was in danger and in need of rescuing, even though we know it was Bokkun who instigated this whole situation. And then they proceed to actually scoop up Dr. Eggman with the Egg Mars, which I should mention is a reference to an old Gundam movie. I believe it's Six God Gundam God Mars or something like that. But the Egg Mars is very much reminiscent of the mecha from that particular series, as is the case with a lot of the classic stuff that Sonic X has referenced up to this point. But yeah, he scoops up with the Egg Mars, and they point out that and Deco even points out that he didn't feel like that the reason they're rescuing him is because they didn't feel like Dr. Eggman's plan was going to work, since obviously none of Sonic's friends are actually going to fall for his crap, but in the process, Dr. Eggman actually lets us slip that he did indeed trick Knuckles, which annoys Knuckles greatly. And also in the process, they actually scoop up. Also in the process, they actually scoop up Cosmo, and threaten to actually crush her if they don't actually give up the Chaos Emerald. But while they're actually arguing over the Chaos Emerald and who they should get it, Rouge actually decides to make a move and tries to steal it for herself, but she doesn't get the opportunity to, because right at that exact moment, a giant Metarex shaped like a frog, it bursts out of the ground and eats the Chaos Emerald. And everybody quickly realizes that they have a common enemy, since they both want the Chaos Emerald, and the Metarex just ate it. So they quickly realize that they need to actually defeat the Chaos Emerald. So Dr. Eggman, surreally enough, actually goes in with his robot to actually go and fight. I don't actually remember the name, but he goes in to fight the Metarex, and in the process, the Metarex actually reveals a bit of what it believes is the story about how according to the Metarex, it believes it's on the side of good. It believes that the people who actually want the Chaos Emeralds and are actually the good guys are actually on the side of evil and actually want to plunge the world into chaos, and that it is completely in the right. And that it is completely in the right for actually taking the Chaos Emerald, since obviously it believes that Metarex are the people who should actually have the Chaos Emerald. But obviously, Dr. Eggman doesn't kind of really listen to it, and tries to cut it down to size with his robot, but it gets blown up by the robot stabbing it with its tongue and filling it with electricity, which causes it to blow up, and Dr. Eggman, Deco, and Bokkun all go flying back to his space base. At which point, Sonic and Knuckles have to team up to actually try and defeat the Metarex themselves. But again, as demonstrated by Dr. Eggman, who fights it literally in a giant mech. He fights it in a giant Gundam robot. It quickly becomes apparent if Dr. Eggman couldn't hurt it with his giant Gundam, then obviously Sonic and Knuckles aren't going to do much. And that's completely in the right, because they actually can't face off against it. And the Gundam even gets into the Metarex actually even gets bored fighting them and tries to go off to find the planet egg, since that's what it's there to do. And it goes off to retrieve the planet egg that Sonic had actually liberated and returned to the planet, so that it could actually go find it again. And Cosmo is kind of concerned about this, pointing out that if they don't defeat the Metarex, that the planet will actually become flooded again, and then they'll be right back to where they started. At which point, Chris and Tails actually have come up with an idea. And they actually find a way to actually lure the Metarex away from where they're supposed to be going. And actually lures the Metarex away from where the planet egg is by having Chris hold a fake planet egg on one of the parade floats, and then just kind of leading it back to the Blue Typhoon. So. And obviously Sonic immediately realizes what's up, realizing that they're probably going to use the cannon to shoot the Metarex, and immediately goes back to the ship to get ready to be fired. While Knuckles doesn't really have the patience to actually wait for them to actually figure it all out. So he just kind of keeps fighting the Metarex on his lonesome. And eventually he does throw the plant, and eventually Chris does eventually get it into position, and throws the quote unquote planet egg into the sky, so that the Metarex will actually go after it, and yells catch at whoever will listen. And Knuckles happens to see it and actually goes to catch it, but is actually caught by the Metarex. But because he did that, the Metarex actually finds itself in a position where it's now vulnerable to the Sonic Speed Cannon. And then Chris and Tails actually fire Sonic through the Metarex and destroy it. And it blows up. And Knuckles is just happy because it means they got the planet egg back from the Metarex, but quickly realizes that it's not actually a planet egg at all, but rather a beach ball that Chris was just claiming to be the planet egg. And Knuckles and everybody finally realizes that what Chris's plan was, which was to lure it with a fake planet egg, so that it would actually be fired into the general direction. But in any case, with that, they then realize that now that they've actually secured the Chaos Emerald for real, since obviously they fought with Eggman over it a little bit, and also to a lesser extent Rouge, who was just kind of there, but they didn't know that she was there. They then decide that now that they spent enough time on Planet Secco, and declare that they need to go find the rest of the Chaos Emeralds, so they get ready to go back in the Blue Typhoon and actually go find them. Meanwhile, Dr. Eggman is kind of reeling over his latest failure, and even voices his concerns to Diko and Boko about how he's failed again, and even tells them that next time he's not going to fail, and that they should see to that personally. And meanwhile, Rouge actually tells Bokkun that he played his role beautifully, and that she'll have a lot more jobs for him in the future. But Bokkun again tries to refuse to help Rouge again, but Rouge once again dangles the locket in front of him, and Bokkun realizes that he really has no choice, so he has to work with Rouge again. So this episode brings up a couple of interesting points. First and foremost is that Eggman doesn't really do anything as far as being a villain is concerned. Obviously, Dr. Eggman has kind of taken a backseat as the main villain of the series so far. So yeah, and that should tell you something, because in the games, Dr. Eggman is consistently the main antagonist of every single game he's in. So the fact that he's taking a backseat should tell you something. He's not as big a threat as he usually is. But more to the point, it seems that Dr. Eggman and Sonic will actually work together to bring down the Metarex if their goals align. Which obviously they're going to more often than not, since obviously both Dr. Eggman and Sonic are after the Chaos Emeralds, so are the Metarex, which means they actually have to form an occasional truce to actually bring down the Metarex and actually try and defeat it, which isn't kind of an official truce, but it is kind of like, hey, we're both after the Chaos Emeralds, we might as well go after the guy who's also after the Chaos Emeralds. So yeah, this episode kind of just sets that up, that while Dr. Eggman isn't officially working with Sonic and his friends, they do indeed work together in this episode to try and bring down the Metarex, which doesn't work. And also kind of an interesting little side point is that in this episode we actually find out that Bokkun has a crush on somebody, but the episode doesn't say who. So I'm interested. It's obviously somebody who's in space currently. And is currently with the main group, so it has to be somebody Bokkun obviously knows and knows that Rouge will actually tell while he's out. So it's got to be a member of the main cast. Probably either Amy or Cream, if I had to guess. But especially mainly because he literally just met Cosmo and wouldn't have had time to get a picture of her. But whereas he's known Amy and Cream for years or so at this point. So obviously he knows that. So obviously it has to be one of them. But yeah, this episode is just kind of interesting, and I'm interested to see how where they actually go next, because obviously they're in space. The sky's the limit as to the settings of where they can go now. So yeah, I'm interested to see where this actually is going to go. But for right now, that's my review of Sonic X. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter in the description below. Be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well if you want to help support the show. It really helps me out. You guys get access to a bunch of cool perks that I'm always saying thanks. And it generally just helps me make future projects like this. So, if you guys want to help support me, by all means, check that out. And finally, if you guys actually want to see more content from me, then there's actually 2 ways you can do that. One is by checking out my Twitch down in the description below as well, and just following me over there so you can actually see all the notifications. I'm not able to monetize that yet, but if you guys can actually follow me over there, to actually help me get to that goal so I can actually monetize my stuff over there, then that would be great. I need about 50. There's about 8 to 10 people that are over there, so I need 50. So I need 50 to actually get that done. So if you guys want to help me fulfill that requirement, by all means, go check that out. And the other way you can do that is the other way you can actually see more content from me is by actually checking out the videos linked in the end screen. The top video is the most recent video. It may or may not be this one. Whereas the bottom video is a video recommended to you based on what you've already seen. So, if you want to see something new or try more of what you like, then be sure to check both of those videos out. But regardless of whether or not you do any of those things, thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you next time. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!